Ever wish you could, like, unlock that business savvy everyone seems to have, without the whole MBA thing?
Hmm.
Well, you're in the right place. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman.
Yeah, great book.
It is. We're talking actionable advice you can actually use, whether you're like a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out.
And what's so interesting is how Kaufman tackles this whole idea that you need a fancy degree to, win at business.
Right.
He just jumps right into the downsides of
Yeah.
traditional MBAs. And honestly, some of the examples he uses are kind of eye-opening.
Right. Like, remember that whole Harvard MBA scandal?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
one Seth Godin talked about?
Yeah.
It really makes you question what success really means.
Totally.
And it's not just scandals. Kaufman also mentions Charlie Munger,
Oh, right.
the billionaire investor,
Mm.
built his empire without an MBA.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you think maybe there's more than one path to the top.
Absolutely. And that's where Kaufman's framework for business success comes in. He breaks down any successful business, big or small, into 5 core elements.
Okay.
The best part, he explains it in a way that anyone can understand, no matter their background.
That's key, right?
Yeah.
Because what good is knowledge if you can't apply it?
Exactly.
And speaking of applying knowledge, the book dives into something called the value exchange.
Okay.
This is where things get really interesting. We're not just talking products and services here. Kaufman outlines 12 different forms of value a business can offer.
It really shifts your perspective. You might be familiar with the basics, like selling a product or offering a service.
Right.
But Kaufman takes it way further. Think about reselling. You're essentially providing value by connecting buyers and sellers, efficiently
Right.
and profiting from the difference.
Okay, yeah.
There's
Or how about licensing?
oh yeah,
Have you ever wondered how a song ends up in a commercial? That's licensing.
exactly.
Companies pay to use someone else's intellectual property. And that in itself can be a whole business model.
Absolutely. And what's crucial here is that Kaufman ties these forms of value directly to market demand.
Okay.
He argues that even with like an amazing team and a fantastic product, if there's no market for it,
Right.
your chances of success, they just dwindle.
Yeah. It's a reality check for sure. Makes you realize it's not just about having a great idea,
Right.
about solving a problem that people actually have.
Yeah.
And that's where understanding these different forms of value comes in handy. It's like spotting opportunities that others might miss. Like, think about Vibram's 5-finger shoes.
Yes.
Those funky ones with individual toes.
Those shoes practically market themselves. Their unusual design, it sparks curiosity, conversation.
Right.
They stand out from the crowd. They become their own advertisement.
Yeah. Exactly. It's brilliant marketing, really. They tapped into an unmet need or maybe even created a need by being different. So what does all of this mean for, like, our listeners?
It means there are countless ways to create and deliver value. Kaufman wants you to ask yourself, what problem are you solving? And what's the best form of value to address that problem? It could be anything.
Yeah.
A physical product, a service, a membership, even just sharing your knowledge.
I love that. It's about finding your own unique way to make an impact. And speaking of making an impact, Kaufman tells this great story about Fitbit,
Oh, yeah.
the fitness tracker company.
Right.
They didn't just dive headfirst into mass production. They actually did something called shadow testing first.
Now, that's interesting. Tell me more about that.
So imagine testing your business idea before even creating a product.
Wow.
That's shadow testing.
Okay.
Fitbit used this to validate their idea, allowing them to tweak and refine their offering before going to market.
Smart.
Minimize their risk and set them up for success.
Such a smart move.
And that brings us to another crucial point: pricing.
Okay.
It's not just about covering your costs. It's about perceived value. Remember that Hope Diamond we mentioned earlier?
The Hope Diamond, a perfect example.
Why is a rock worth $350 million?
Right.
It's not just about the size or even the rarity. It's the story, the history, the emotional weight it carries. That's what people are paying for. It's like crafting a compelling story around what you're offering. You need to justify that price tag by connecting with the why behind a purchase.
I see.
Why would someone choose your product or service over all the others? And that's where understanding human psychology comes in.
Absolutely. And you know what? Kaufman dives into that too. He explores the human element of business, from understanding how customers think to building strong teams.
He even talks about something called the caveman in the boardroom.
Okay. Okay.
It's this idea that even in our fancy offices, we're still driven by primal instinct.
Interesting.
Like that primal part of us is always trying to, climb the corporate ladder.
Right.
Even if it means like stepping on someone's toes along the way.
Yeah,
It's a bit unsettling, but also incredibly insightful.
it is. And by recognizing these tendencies in ourselves and others,
Right.
we can start to make more, conscious and strategic choices in the business world.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've been talking about the why behind a purchase, but let's get down to like the actual exchange of value
Yeah.
making money.
Yeah.
In this part of our deep dive, we're exploring Kaufman's practical strategies for pricing, sales, and marketing. Get ready to turn those valuable offerings into, well, valuable offerings.
What's key here is how Kaufman emphasizes that pricing,
Hmm.
it isn't just about covering your costs.
Right,
It's about aligning your price with the value you're delivering.
right,
And importantly, the value your customer perceives.
right. Like it's not enough to be valuable. You have to make sure your customers get that value too.
Exactly.
Remember the Hope Diamond analogy.
Right.
It's all about crafting that narrative,
Yeah.
that story that justifies the price tag.
Precisely. And that brings us to sales.
Okay.
Kaufman introduces this concept called value-based selling. You're not just, pushing a product or service.
Right.
You're helping your customers understand how your offering solves their problems and makes their lives better.
It's about guiding them to that aha moment,
Yes.
right? Where they realize this is exactly what I've been missing.
Exactly. And get this. Kaufman advocates for something called education-based selling.
Okay.
It's a bit radical.
Okay.
It means being willing to educate your prospects, even if it means recommending a competitor's product if it's a better fit.
Wow. That's putting your money where your mouth is. It takes serious confidence to guide a customer to a competitor. But I can see the long game there. You're building trust,
Right.
becoming a trusted advisor, not just someone trying to make a quick buck.
Precisely. And speaking of building trust, think about those free consultations some businesses offer.
Right.
Kaufman highlights that as a powerful way to offer genuine value up front.
Yeah, it's like giving someone a sneak peek, a little taste of what you can do.
Yeah.
It's like when you listen to a podcast for the first time because they have a free episode
Yeah.
and you're instantly hooked. That's offering value up front.
Such a good analogy. It's low risk for potential customers
Right.
to experience your expertise firsthand.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so we've covered pricing and sales.
Okay.
Now for the big question. How do you stand out in a world saturated with information? How do you grab attention?
It's tough. Kaufman argues that attention is the most valuable currency today.
It is.
He provides a framework for, understanding and capturing that elusive attention.
Which is no easy feat in the digital age, right? It's like they say, content is king, but attention is queen. You could have the best product in the world,
Right.
but if nobody knows about it.
Exactly. Kaufman highlights the importance of remarkability.
Okay,
Your offering needs to be memorable.
right.
Something that truly stands out from the crowd.
Like those five-finger shoes, right? They're so unique. You can't help but notice them. They're remarkable.
Exactly. And it's not just about being remarkable in general.
Right.
It's about being remarkable to the right people.
Right.
Kaufman stresses targeting your probable purchaser. Focus your marketing efforts on those most likely to be interested in what you offer.
Don't try to sell diapers at a heavy metal concert.
Now you're getting it.
Right.
It's about making sure your message resonates with the right audience.
It's all about making that connection.
Yes.
But what about the people who are already familiar with you? How do you keep them coming back for more? How do you keep them happy?
Kaufman is a big advocate for exceeding customer expectations.
Oh.
It's about, going above and beyond to create a memorable experience.
He mentioned Zappos, right?
Yeah.
The online shoe retailer. They're legendary for their customer service.
Exactly. They understand that value delivery isn't just about the product itself.
Right.
It's about the entire customer journey.
And speaking of journeys, the book delves into the concept of scaling, taking a business from a one-person show to a well-oiled machine, serving a massive customer base.
Right. And he uses Toyota, the automotive giant, as a prime example.
Yeah.
Their renowned production system is a testament to the power of scaling effectively.
Toyota is like the gold standard for efficiency and quality. Right?
Precisely. Their system is built on continuous improvement,
Right.
making small, incremental changes that add up to huge results over time.
It reminds me of that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
Big results often come from consistent small actions.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, this all sounds great,
Yeah.
but let's be real. Running a business isn't all sunshine and roses.
No.
You've got finances to manage, stress to deal with, people to work with.
You're right. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
And that's where Kaufman's insights on the human element are so valuable.
Right.
He offers strategies for managing your time and energy, understanding your own psychology, and navigating the complexities of human interaction.
Right. We were talking earlier about the caveman in the boardroom.
Yes.
This idea that primal instincts are alive and well in our modern offices.
Yes. And one example Kaufman explores is loss aversion.
Okay.
This tendency we have to be more afraid of losing something
Right.
than we are excited about gaining something of equal value.
Yeah, it's like we're hardwired to avoid losses, even if it means missing out on potential gains.
Exactly.
You see this in business all the time, people clinging to a failing project because they've already invested so much.
Exactly. Recognizing this tendency in ourselves is so important.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about burnout.
Oh, yeah.
We all get overwhelmed sometimes.
For sure.
What does Kaufman suggest for dealing with stress and staying sane in the midst of the chaos?
So we've talked about, the importance of understanding ourselves and the people we work with. But
Right.
things get even more complex when you think about all the systems in play in a business.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we're headed in this final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to unpack Kaufman's approach to systems thinking.
It might sound intimidating at first,
Right.
this whole systems thinking thing.
Yeah.
But Kaufman breaks it down beautifully.
Okay.
He wants you to see a business, or really any endeavor, as a system,
Okay.
a network of interconnected parts working together.
Okay. So it's not just about having a killer product
Yeah.
or a charismatic CEO.
Right.
It's about how all the pieces of the puzzle work together.
Exactly. And to analyze these systems, he introduces this powerful tool
Okay.
called the 5 Focusing Steps.
Okay.
Originally developed by Eliyahu Goldratt, the author of The Goal.
5 steps to business success. Sounds like a plan.
Right.
Let's hear them.
Okay, so the first step is identification.
Okay.
It's about finding the system's bottleneck.
Okay.
That one thing that's holding everything back.
Like finding the weakest link in a chain.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. What's next?
Once you've identified that bottleneck,
Right.
you move on to step 2,
Yeah.
exploitation.
Okay.
This means making sure you're using that constraint to its full potential
Right.
without wasting resources.
There's no point in speeding up other parts of the process
Exactly.
if that one bottleneck is still slowing everything down.
Right.
You've got to focus on maximizing efficiency where it matters most.
Exactly. Then comes subordination,
Okay.
which is about redesigning the entire system to support that constraint,
Wow.
even if it means making other parts less efficient.
Interesting. So even if some parts could be performing at a higher level,
Right.
it's more important to make sure everything is aligned to support that one crucial bottleneck.
Yes.
It's about the system as a whole, not
Yes.
just optimizing individual parts.
Precisely. Step 4 is elevation. This is where you invest in permanently increasing the capacity of that constraint.
Okay.
Maybe it's new equipment, more training, or streamlining a process.
So once you've squeezed everything you can out of the current constraint,
Right.
it's time to give it a boost so the entire system can level up.
Exactly.
Okay, what's the final step?
The 5th step, and this is crucial, is reevaluation.
Okay.
You need to continuously monitor the system
Right.
and identify any new constraints that might pop up,
Right.
because systems are always evolving.
Right.
And what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've got these 5 steps for analyzing and improving systems.
Yes.
But how do we actually apply this to our own lives and work?
Well, Kaufman provides some great real-world examples.
Okay.
One really important concept is feedback loops,
Okay.
where the output of a system circles back and becomes its own input.
Okay.
This can create a positive spiral of growth,
Right.
or unfortunately a downward spiral of decline.
It's like that saying, what goes around comes around, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You make a small change and it ripples outwards, impacting other parts of the system.
Precisely. He also dives into autocatalysis,
Oh, okay.
which is kind of a fancy way of saying that sometimes a system's output becomes its own input,
Okay.
accelerating its growth exponentially.
Okay.
Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill.
Right.
It picks up more snow as it goes, getting bigger and faster.
Okay. I can see how that applies to business.
Right.
What's an example of Autocatalysis in action.
Think about Google's search engine.
Okay.
The more people use it, the more data they generate.
Right.
This data makes the search results even better,
Right.
which in turn attracts even more users.
Right.
It's like a beautiful example of a positive feedback loop,
Right.
creating unstoppable momentum.
That's a great example, but I imagine it can go the other way too, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Like these feedback loops can work against you.
Yes, Kaufman cautions against unintended consequences,
Oh, okay.
what he calls second-order effects.
Okay, so sometimes a decision that seems positive on the surface
Right.
can have unforeseen negative consequences down the line.
Exactly. A classic example is rent control.
Okay.
While intended to make housing more affordable,
Right.
it can actually lead to less investment in rental properties,
Oh, wow.
ultimately resulting in a housing shortage.
Right.
It highlights the importance of really thinking through the potential ripple effects of our actions.
It's like that butterfly effect.
Yes.
A small change one place can have a huge impact somewhere else.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're starting to think like systems thinkers.
Yes.
Anticipating bottlenecks, feedback loops, and unintended consequences.
Right.
What else can we learn from Kaufman's approach?
He stresses the importance of resilience,
Oh,
building systems that can weather those inevitable storms
right.
and bounce back stronger.
So it's not just about avoiding problems altogether,
Right.
but building in the flexibility to adapt and overcome challenges when they arise.
Exactly. He talks about fail-safes,
Okay.
backup plans for when things go wrong.
Like having a spare tire in your car.
Exactly.
You hope you never need it.
Right. But you're sure glad you have it when you get a flat.
Precisely. And he introduces scenario planning,
Okay.
imagining different potential futures, and developing strategies to respond to each other.
Oh, interesting.
It's about being proactive, not just reactive.
So instead of getting caught off guard,
Right.
you're running mental simulations.
Yes.
Thinking
Oh,
through what-if scenarios.
Exactly.
That way you're better equipped to handle whatever comes your way.
Exactly.
This is all incredibly insightful.
Yeah.
But how does it apply to our, everyday lives?
That's the beauty of it. These, systems thinking principles,
Yeah.
they aren't just for Fortune 500 companies. They're
Okay.
applicable to any area of life.
Wow.
Whether it's managing your finances, improving your health, or navigating relationships,
Mhm.
understanding how systems work can empower you to make smarter decisions.
So it's about becoming more aware of how things are interconnected,
Yes.
seeing the bigger picture.
And making choices that, support our overall well-being.
Exactly.
And that's where Kaufman leaves us, I guess, with a final thought, a call to action.
Yes.
He challenges us to, identify one small experiment,
Mhm.
one tiny change we can implement, this week
Yes.
to improve our work or personal lives.
I love that.
It's about, putting all this amazing knowledge into practice.
Yes.
Because even the smallest actions, when done consistently, can lead to remarkable outcomes.
Absolutely.
Well, there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the Personal MBA.
It's been great.
We covered a lot of ground.
Oh, you did.
From debunking the MBA myth
Right.
and mastering the art of selling
Yeah.
to understanding, the power of systems thinking.
It's been a journey of discovery,
It has.
unpacking a treasure trove of practical advice.
For sure.
No matter where you are in your journey,
Right.
there's something here for you.
So go forth and experiment. Apply what you've learned. And remember, even a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
I love it.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.